Tonight, New South Wales Police ready to crack down on social gatherings as the coronavirus forces drastic action. And the owner of the Port Pirie smelter facing legal action from the South Australian Government.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. New South Wales Police say it will be cracking down on reckless social gatherings, with harsh penalties to be handed out. Officers saying the extreme restrictions are in place for a reason, to reduce the spread of coronavirus.
Extraordinary circumstances have called for strong action to be taken, and police stand ready to respond. Recent announcements from Prime Minister Scott Morrison have basically put a halt on most social gatherings across the country. The drastic decisions to prevent people coming together all aimed at stopping the spread of coronavirus.
If you're looking for that information, please stop Googling it, stop looking at your social media and actually going onto these platforms and using the actual official websites.
Those who don't comply with the social gathering directions face serious consequences. Police having the power to issue $1,000 on-the-spot fines for individuals as they prepare to stamp out reckless behaviour.
I know that there are fines out there that we can start issuing. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to keep people safe and to stop the spread of this virus at the moment.
Officers will also no longer require a warrant to arrest an individual breaching a public health order, after the New South Wales Government passed legislation giving them greater powers. Additionally, police have the option to charge anyone found failing to comply with a ministerial direction, which carries a maximum penalty of 6 months imprisonment and/or an $11,000 fine. Broken Hill Police say, given the city's close proximity to the border, locals should also be mindful about their reason for entering South Australia.
People that are trying to pass through to South Australia for whatever reason they might be going there, to check the South Australian Government website first to see what the restrictions are.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
There are fears for dozens of animals at the region's RSPCA shelters if they're forced to shut down amid the coronavirus pandemic. Volunteers are desperately calling for adoptions to help ease the number of animals.
As strict lockdowns sweep across the country, the RSPCA says it's now fearful it could soon be forced to shut shop, leaving dozens of animals in limbo.
We are quite concerned with the current state in relation to the coronavirus and having to shut the shelter down.
As the government continues to crack down and extend restrictions on businesses, many have been forced to close. The Port Lincoln RSPCA urging locals to adopt or foster animals while they still can and keep them safe during this uncertain time.
We are still open to the public. We are still having animals in our care. And we are trying to adopt as many of those animals as possible to get them into loving homes.
The shelter says it's fearful of what it could mean for dozens of vulnerable animals currently in its care if government lockdowns continue.
It would mean that those animals would be forced to essentially stay in the shelter situation for quite an extended period of time.
Over the past week, the shelter says several animals have been adopted in what's been a promising start, but says it's a small drop in the bucket, with hundreds still needing forever homes.
If you've been thinking of it or had any consideration that you thought you might, please do it now, so that we can have these animals get into lovely homes before we're forced to shut down.
All adopted animals come desexed, vaccinated and microchipped for $29. For more information, contact the Port Lincoln or Whyalla shelters. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
There's new criteria for those being tested for coronavirus, as the number of cases in South Australia climbs towards 200. Previously, only those who travelled overseas in the last 14 days or were in contact with a confirmed case could be tested. That criteria will now be broadened to allow more people to undergo testing. Those who've been in close contact, not just household contact with a case, those returning from international travel, cruise ship passengers, and those in high-risk settings such as aged care facilities, boarding schools, correctional facilities, Aboriginal and remote communities will now be eligible for testing. South Australian school students will finish Term 1 earlier than planned, with school holidays to be brought forward by 4 days. The plan will give teachers the opportunity to prepare lessons for children at home during Term 2. The 4 days from Monday, April 6 will be classified as pupil-free days. Parents are reminded schools are still open until then and are not currently in lockdown. Vacation care will still remain in operation during the extra days away from school, allowing healthcare workers to remain at work. Broken Hill's Country University Centre has closed its doors, unable to stay open amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. The Crystal Street complex shutting up indefinitely, but promising to keep supporting its students.
Closed until further notice.
We kind of fell under the community centre library sphere of the recommendations, and we considered all of our options. We had put in all the appropriate measures for social distancing within the centre, but we want to keep our students safe.
The Far West Country University Centre has been closed since last night, yet another facility forced to shut down to curb the spread of coronavirus. The safety of over 140 students registered to use the building, the centre's #1 priority. It's aiming to keep supporting the students and their studies as they move online. Workshops, programs and other seminars will continue to be delivered just in a virtual manner.
We're looking to modify our delivery and still be able to support students and connect the network of students that we have as well, so they don't feel so isolated.
Country University Centre Far West was opened in 2018. At the time, it was the second of its kind in New South Wales. Since the opening, initial predictions of student numbers have been more than tripled, with hundreds of Far West residents studying dozens of degrees through multiple Australian universities. It's also been working with local high schools to create studying pathways, encouraging them to start thinking of university.
We want to make sure that we're sustainable in our support for students, whether we've got the doors open or whether we don't. So anything that we can implement in this virtual environment, we will be.
The Far West Centre is also looking to launch a website in the coming weeks. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
And a reminder, if you need any more information or you've come into contact with someone who has coronavirus, please contact the national toll-free number on 1-800-020-080. Information is also available at the SA Health, New South Wales Health and Federal Health Department websites. Links to those pages can be found on our Facebook page. Still to come tonight, Nearstar heading to court over pollution accusations, and Broken Hill Council facing a financial shortfall due to the COVID-19 crisis. Welcome back. The Environment Protection Authority has confirmed it's taking the owners of the Port Pirie smelter to court. The EPA is prosecuting Nearstar for allegedly causing serious environmental harm. They claim the company discharged 700 litres of sulfuric acid into First Creek between January 31 and February 3 last year. The EPA says the incident could create environmental harm for fish and other flora and fauna species in the creek. In a statement, Nearstar confirmed they have received a court order from the investigating authority. The case will be heard in the Environment, Resources and Development Court at a later date. TAFE SA campuses across the state will be extending their holidays in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Classes will continue until tomorrow, resuming on April 27th. Chief Executive David Coltman says the extra break will allow staff to develop online learning models, ensuring students get vocational and education training both during and after the global pandemic. They also say it's critical to continue, as there's still a need for skilled workers, apprentices and trainees during the disruption. A new Facebook page has been created to help support local businesses in Port Augusta. The page, Port Augusta COVID Business Trading Hours, is listing those that are still able to trade through new restrictions put in place by the government amidst the pandemic. Organisers say social media is helping them survive through this trying time and is open to all businesses in town. The page creator is calling for anyone interested to message them directly to be featured and help keep locals in the loop. With 260 community members already on board after just a few days, there's hope it'll remind residents to shop local. The page will also display trading hours and any new limitations that occur, if further restrictions are put in place. Broken Hill councillors held their monthly meeting last night, which was closed off to the public due to coronavirus. Those present discussed the effect COVID-19 is having on council's operations.
Closed to the public and to the media. The only shots we could get of last night's council meeting were from outside through the windows and cracks through the blinds. The only way locals could watch it, through the live stream. Councillors also sitting further apart to adhere to social distancing. The effect the coronavirus has had on council's budget dominated discussion. Council's general manager saying the plan to deliver a surplus budget by 2023 now looking unlikely.
Over the last 3 weeks, our budget situation has worsened quite considerably to the tune of probably a couple of $1 million through to the 30th of June, and we're expecting that to probably get a little bit worse, particularly if we can't contain our expenditure.
Mr Ronkin says council will recover from the economic hit of coronavirus, but it currently is in a difficult financial situation. Councillor Kennedy put forward a motion to isolate Broken Hill, Wilcannia and Menindee from all but essential travel, the Mayor saying it wasn't voted on as councillors needed to be more informed of its feasibility.
Some of them go to work in different parts of New South Wales. Some of them go to work here across to Adelaide. If we cut ourselves off, we also have the issue of people accessing medical treatment, and we also have the issue of doctors coming into Broken Hill.
A mayoral minute for council to discount the head tax on Rex Airlines was supported last night. Council hopeful Regional Express can keep some of its planes in the air.
One of the parts for the Broken Hill councillors is about how our community access health service.
Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us. The fishing industry receives a giant boost and a number of Whyalla council buildings go into lockdown. A lifeline has been thrown for South Australian fishers in a bid to cushion the blow over the coronavirus pandemic. The government will allow the carryover of uncaught quotas to extend into next season, saving the sector from potential financial ruin.
With export closures and dwindling market demand, the region's rock lobster industry says it's been crippled by the coronavirus pandemic.
The virus really has stopped the market completely since the 22nd of January. So we've actually had a 2-month with extremely limited fishing to no fishings.
The association says the fisheries are at a crisis point, with cancellations of orders and the shutdown of China, which accounted for more than 95% of the lobster market.
It's really stopped the fishing industry or the rock lobster industry in its track.
But there's a glimmer of hope for the industry. This week the government announced fisheries could carry over the uncaught quota onto the following year.
Over the 2-year period, the same amount of fish will be caught, but fishers are basically not going to lose out the ability to catch the same amount of fish.
The new rule set to allow fisheries the opportunity to recoup financial losses in the future when markets are reopened.
We've only caught 50% of the quota for this quota year, and obviously that would have been a catastrophic situation because all operators would have been in financial ruin.
The disruptions to the market is set to cost South Australia a staggering $23 million, but fisheries say that number could potentially rise as further restrictions come in and the effects of the virus on the world economy become apparent.
As soon as all the restrictions slow down here in Australia, and we're hoping that it will be in sometime in May before we start exporting.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The federal government has lifted the 30-minute haircut rule this morning, following recent feedback on its practicality. Premiers and chief ministers met at the National Cabinet last night, all agreeing to the new change. The 4 square metre distance rule still strictly applies within the premises. However, personal contact during the customer's visit should be minimised wherever possible. They've also noted that state and territories can provide exemptions when it comes to how many people can attend a funeral if there's hardship grounds. The National Cabinet will meet again this Friday. The Whyalla Council has closed a number of public facilities due to the government's new COVID-19 restrictions. The public library has suspended all services until further notice. Council encouraging locals to access books online until it reopens. The Visitor Centre and Maritime Museum are also now closed, with all tours suspended. Others temporarily shutting their doors include the Field Street Hall, the former Girl Guide Hall at Jessup White Park, and the training rooms at the Whyalla Business Centre. Two major employers have confirmed they're now hiring to help with an increased demand. Supermarket giant Woolworths has positions available on a store-by-store basis. The company encouraging workers to head to their nearest shop and hand in a resume. Meanwhile, pizza delivery service Domino's is also following a similar process, giving out-of-work Aussies a chance to make an income. The pizza giant is hiring 2,000 new employees as demands for home delivery spikes during the coronavirus crisis. The member for Frome is encouraging locals to remain calm and continue to safely support local businesses during the pandemic. Jeff Brock says it's important to support local shops at this time and keep our region's economy ticking over.
They're still open for coffees, and a lot of cafes and that across the whole of the region are promoting and saying that if you ring up and they can arrange for takeaway meals and things like that.
Shoppers are also encouraged to stop panic buying and choose Australian products in order to help keep local people in jobs. Stay with us after the break. We'll check what fish are biting in the Gulf this week. And Alex Sykes will have the latest weather details. Hello again. It's now time to check what's biting in the Spencer Gulf over the weekend. Here's our fishing experts with their tips.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. There's a few silver whiting down along the shacks, particularly at low tide. If you're down there, try and get some razorfish, stir the ground up a little bit and look back where you've got the razorfish. There should be some silver whiting hanging around. The bigger ones will generally hang up the back of the pack. There'll be a few shitties down the front. There are some King George whiting surprisingly getting around at the moment over in the Flinders Channel, and I'd probably try up around the top of Patterson as well. The first few squid have started to rock up a little bit further south down near Yatala Harbour, but they should be on the move up the top of the Gulf or up towards the shacks area. Lots of Tommy Ruffs around in the mangroves, so try off the beach for them, particularly at night. And if you do get a chance, go gar fishing as well on these nice calm nights. At least the weather's played its part. It's not too bad at the moment. That's all we have for the Jewel of the North. Stay safe and stay isolated.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. Last week we told you that there may be a great opportunity to self-isolate, go fishing and do, just keep your personal spaces. Did the very same thing myself. Went out to Port Davis. Fantastic, very, very blowy, but at the end of the day, caught a quota of blue swimmer crabs, some King George whiting and some squid. So that means the great time of the year is happening again for us. As it gets closer to April, we always get our first run of squid and King George whiting. So I recommend to anybody, if you've got an opportunity over the weekend, have a crack at those. The usual hot spots would be Third Creek Patches and also just inside of Germain Bay there, you should be able to find yourself a feed. Blue swimmer crabs are still on the menu for the while. Not too bad in size, so grab yourself your last feed of that. I have been told that if you cryovac them with a touch of vinegar, they're absolutely perfect to pull out later on and make into patties or a cocktail, crab cocktail. So that's all I've got this week.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Reports in Port Lincoln. Well, the reports are getting a little bit leaner, but there's still a bit of fishing activity around the place. We'll start in the bay here in Port Lincoln. There's been a few whiting caught in the proper and up along the North Shore, and there's been some nice sized garfish mixed through those areas too. There's been some squid caught off local jetties, which has been good, and there's been a few yellowfin whiting up along the beaches near Louth Bay. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there's been quite a few salmon trout, some garfish and some slimy mackerel through the bay systems at Coffins, and there's been a few whiting caught around the racks near Longnose, and there's also been a few small bronze whalers caught from the channel at Coffin Bay as well. That's all for the fishing tips this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
Weather now, and we're set for a warm weekend with temperatures heading back into the mid-30s. Here's Alex Sykes with the details.
Good evening, everyone. It was a fine and mostly sunny day across South Australia and Western New South Wales. Port Augusta reached 27, Whale and Broken Hill were both 24, Port Lincoln partly cloudy and 22, Port Pirie 28, and it reached a max of 24 degrees in Adelaide. To the satellite now, and there's some low cloud over coastal and some parts of inland South Australia, but no rain is being produced. Clear skies elsewhere thanks to a high pressure system. On the waters tomorrow, easterly winds to 10 to 15 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres, and sunrise is at 7:23 with sunset at 7:18. Similar conditions again tomorrow with dry and partly cloudy skies for the region. Port Augusta set for a top of 29, Whyalla, Clare, Cleve and Kadina all partly cloudy and 27, Port Lincoln 24, Coffin Bay 26, Woodness sunny and 30, Quorn 28, Broken Hill and Port Pirie both 29, and Adelaide will be partly cloudy and 27 degrees. Looking ahead to the next 4 days, mostly fine conditions for Port Lincoln, 31 degrees on Saturday, 23 Sunday, partly cloudy and 22 Monday, Cleve will reach 32 on Saturday, 23 Sunday, dropping back to 21 Sunday, in Woodner heating up to 33 on Saturday, 24 Sunday, partly cloudy and 23 Monday. Whyalla partly cloudy through until the beginning of next week, 31 Saturday, 25 Sunday, 22 Monday, sunny and 33 degrees in Port Augusta on Saturday, partly cloudy and 26 on Sunday, 24 Monday. In Kadina, it'll remain dry and mostly sunny, 30 Saturday, 24 Sunday, 23 on Monday. Port Pirie will reach a warm 32 degrees on Saturday, 26 on Sunday, partly cloudy and 25 on Monday, Clare warming up to 30 degrees on Saturday, cooler conditions for Sunday reaching 22, 21 on Monday. And in Broken Hill, sunny and 30 degrees on Saturday, 31 on Sunday, sunny and 27 Monday. And that's all for tonight's weather. John, it's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's your local news this Thursday evening. Just a reminder, you can keep up with us on our Facebook, Twitter and YouTube pages. Search for Spencer Golf Nightly News. I'm John Hunt, thanks for your company. I'll have updates later, but until then, have a great evening. On behalf of the team, it's good night.